For a 10-year 5% annual pay bond with a face value of $1,000 currently trading at par, the approximate modified duration based on a change in yield of 25 basis points is closest to. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be using this approximate modified duration formula, and we are given a few of these values off the bat, but then we are going to need to calculate. So off the bat, we're given that's just given in the formula, and we're given change in yield, and the current present value. So we're currently trading at par. So this value would be 1,000, and our change in yield is going to be this 25 basis points. So the two unknowables here are PV minus and PV plus. So PV minus is the price of this bond if we hit under a subtraction of 25 basis points from the yield. And then PV plus is the price if we increase the yield by 25 basis points. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pull up our calculator, and we're going to plug in these numbers basically to calculate the price of the bond under these two scenarios, and then we'll plug those numbers in to do so. So our N is going to be 10 for the 10-year bond. Our present value is what we're going to be solving for. Our yield is going to be our, since we're trading at par, that implies that our yield right now is also 5%. So we're going to do 5.25% under the increase scenario. And then payment will be 5% times 1,000, which is 50. And then future value will be 1,000. So we have those all plugged in, and then we will compute present value. So we get about 981. So write that number down, keep some decimals in there, and then we're going to use that to solve. So that's going to be our PV plus value. So then for PV minus, the only thing we need to change is our interest rate. So we're going to do 4.75 instead of 5.25, and then we'll compute present value, and we get 1,019.5409. So then from here, we're going to take those two numbers and we're going to plug those into our formula. We rounded a significant amount here. You probably wouldn't normally round this much on the test, but that's what we did for this problem. And when we plug in those two price values, we get 7.8 for the modified duration, which is going to be equal to answer B. Which of the following tranches most likely has the highest priority in receiving the repayment of the principal amount from the collateral in the case of a collateralized mortgage obligation? Is it going to be a support tranche, a floating rate tranche, or planned amortization class? So for a support tranche, this is not going to be our answer, since this is generally kind of given by the name. It's going to be supporting certain tranches within the capital stack. And so what this tranche is going to do is it's going to absorb a lot of the prepayment and extension risk. And since it is absorbing some more risk, that means it's further down the capital stack, so it's not going to have priority on repayment of principal. B, the floating rate tranche, this we're going to be receiving primarily interest rate payments. And so this is also not going to be our answer. We're going to go with answer C, planned amortization class. And this class is essentially going to be receiving some interest, but also some principal with every payment that they're getting. And so because they're receiving that planned amortization schedule of principal and interest, they're going to have the highest priority of these three. Answer C. Which of the following is most likely a form of external security-based financing predominantly issued by large, high credit corporations and generally matures in under 3 months? Is that going to be secured loan? It will not be a secured loan. Secured loans are typically going to be longer than this 3-month time period. And they're going to be secured by some type of collateral. Moving on to B, we have commercial paper, and then C, we have Euro commercial papers. So between these two, they are going to have similar characteristics in that they mature in under 3 months. They're predominantly issued by large corporations. However, the main difference here that makes me lean towards commercial paper is that Euro commercial papers are going to be issued internationally. So if it said something in the question about the large corporation being multinational and them wanting to issue the debt internationally, then we would lean towards Euro commercial papers. But since that's not included in the question, we're going to go with answer B. Which of the following situations would the issuance of a deferred coupon bond be most appropriate? So deferred coupon meaning we're going to issue this debt as the issuer, and we're not going to have to make interest payments until some time in the future, hence the deferred. So basically our payments on this bond are deferred. So why would we want to do this? Is it A, when financing a new project? This could certainly make sense, so it could be our answer. If we're financing a new project, that new project might not have cash flows currently. We may have a certain build-out phase or based on the initial investment. So the deferred coupon would better line up with the future cash flows that are expected from that project. So I think A sounds like a good answer so far. For B, when there's a predicted increase in market interest rates, and then C, when there's a predicted decrease in market interest rates. So we're not going to want to do deferred coupon based on whether we think market interest rates are going to go up or down. If we think interest rates are going to go down, we might want to do something like a floating rate debt so that our interest rate would decrease in the future. Or if we think interest rates are going to go up, we might want to do fixed rate. So that might determine how we want the interest rate of our bond to be locked in or floating, but it's not going to affect the deferredness of this bond. So A is going to make the most sense. Which of the following statements is or are most accurate? So we have two statements here, and then we need to determine which is accurate. So is 2 accurate, or is 1 and 2 accurate, or are both of these incorrect? Statement 1, for a lender, loans with higher loan value are less risky because the borrower has more to lose in the event of default. That's going to be inaccurate since loans with a higher loan value are going to be more risky, and that's because the borrower has less to lose. If they're borrowing more money, that means that the lender has more to lose and the borrower has less to lose. So statement 1 is incorrect. Statement 2, mortgages to borrowers of low credit quality or lower credit quality, or that have a lower priority claim to the collateral in the event of default, are called prime loans. This is also going to be incorrect. They're not called prime loans. These would be called subprime loans. So we've got 1 and 2 are both inaccurate. So we can rule out A and we can rule out B. We will go with C. Both 1 and 2 are incorrect statements. A 1,000 par value 5% semi-annual coupon bond has a Macaulay duration of 3.59 years. Which of the following is most accurate? And we have 2 statements here. So is statement 1 accurate? Is statement 2 accurate? Or are both of these accurate? So we know at least 1 is going to be accurate. Statement 1, if yield increases by 100 basis points, so yield's going up, then the bond's price will rise by approximately 3.59%. That's going to be inaccurate because it will not rise, it will decrease. Bond prices have an inverse relationship with yields. So when yields go up, prices go down. When yields go down, prices go up. So since we know 1 is not accurate, we could go ahead and just rule out A and C right here and go with B. If we were in a hurry, we could do that on the exam. However, let's look at statement 2 here. If the yield increases by 1%, meaning if yield goes up, so our bond price is going to fall in that scenario, the bond would need to be held for approximately 3.59 years before the decrease in price would be offset by the gain in reinvested coupons. That is going to be an accurate statement and is basically the definition of our duration calculation. And so how this works is our yield goes up, so the price of the bond we're currently holding goes down. And so then it takes us about 3.59 years of taking those coupon payments that we're getting and reinvesting them into those new higher coupon bonds. And so that's how that definition works and calculation ends up working out. Answer B, bond A's yield and yield spread increased by the same amount. From this, we can conclude that the increase in bond A's yield was most likely caused by A, microeconomic factors, B, macroeconomic factors, or C, both macro and microeconomic factors. So we've got yield and yield spread increasing by the same amount. So looking at these two things, microeconomic and macroeconomic factors, microeconomic is going to be more granular at the company level. And so the yield spread is going to be a lot more important for microeconomic because that yield spread going up or down is telling us whether the credit risk of that bond is changing over time. So that's going to be more focused on that specific company. So since this yield spread is increasing by the same amount as the yield, it would tell us that our credit risk increased, and that was the main cause of the yield. So I would lean towards going with answer A here, microeconomic factors. Where this would become macroeconomic factors is if there was some detail on the economic conditions and if the market interest rates overall increased to some extent, then we would have macroeconomic involved. So microeconomic is going to be company focused. Macro is going to be the overall market. So if we saw some bump in overall market yields, then we would start to have both and or answer B. But we're going to have answer A here. In the event of default, which of the following is most likely to have the lowest priority of claims? Would we have senior secured debt, senior unsecured debt, or senior subordinated debt? So these are actually going to go right in order of highest to lowest priority. So senior secured meaning it's going to be secured by the collateral. So the senior secured debt is going to have the first claim on that collateral in the event of default. Next would be senior unsecured debt. That's going to be right under secured debt. So once collateral is taken and used to pay off senior secured debt, then unsecured would have the next claim. And then subordinated, it's kind of right there in the name. It's that debt is subordinate to the other types of debt. And so we're going to go with answer C as this having the lowest priority of claims. A, the actual, and 3360 are commonly used to calculate corporate bonds and government bond days. B, the actual convention is commonly used to calculate days in government bonds, and the 3060 convention is commonly used to calculate days in corporate bonds. Or C, the actual convention is commonly used to calculate corporate bonds, and 3360 is used for government bonds. So we're looking at these two different types of conventions for calculating the yield in a bond. So 3360, what this is referring to is it's kind of simplifying things. So with the accrued interest, it's just going to be calculated on a 30-day basis and for 360 days in the year, meaning 12 months, and we're just assuming they all have 30 days. So if it was 6 months, you wouldn't need to know the exact 6 months and know the exact number of days. You would just say 6 months is 180 days. Whereas under the actual convention, it's going to be a lot more literal. So you're looking at the actual number of days in between. So the timing of the bonds that you're looking at is going to matter more, and you're looking at it on a full 365 days. So now that we understand that, under which of these are they used? So this is going to be answer B, and no advice other than just kind of committing this to memory. Actual is going to be for government bonds, and the 3360 is going to be used for corporate bonds. Answer B. A repurchase agreement is most likely similar to A, an auction, B, a barter transaction, or C, a collateralized loan. This one's going to be answer C, collateralized loan. A repurchase agreement is right there in the name. Essentially what you're doing is I'm giving the lender a security. That's the collateral part of this collateralized loan. And then the lender is giving me money. And then I'm essentially agreeing to repurchase that security back, or the collateral, at some higher rate. And so the difference between the money they gave me and the money that I have to buy the collateral back for, is going to be the yield of that loan. And the collateral is in that security that we're giving them. It's not a barter transaction, which would be exchanging one good for another good. That's not the situation in a repo. We're getting cash for a good. And an auction would involve some type of bidding, which is not a part of a repurchase agreement. Answer C.